We are fighting back because Trump failed at erasing health care protections. And of course, the Supreme Court ruled to protect transgender workers from discrimination. That was a real win on our part.
Absolutely.
And I speak our because I feel that I am an ally, and I always want to be speaking on behalf of this community. But where do you think that my listeners can go now? Because, of course, I have a lot of LGBTQIA listeners, but I also have a lot of suburban white housewives who are listening that may have a fear of trans people. Because I've also heard that craziness, too, that trans people are scary. I don't know. I'm sure you've heard everything, but, what do we do with that? And how do we get folks to just kind of like acknowledge that fear is just inherently wrong on every single level of humanity? What can folks be? I know they should be listening. They should be watching Disclosure, one.
Yeah, I think that's a start. I think Disclosure is a start because it helps us understand how we got here. It helps us understand the history of how we began to think that trans people were psycho killers, right? We look at Alfred Hitchcock and the legacy of that with Psycho and To Dress to Kill and To Silence of the Lambs, etc. And to so many scenarios where trans folks have been represented as like criminal psychopaths. And we can begin to understand how we got here, and then the conversations that start. Hopefully, like Disclosure is the beginning of like hearts and minds shifting internally. And then we need to go and have the conversations with our friends, families, co-workers. And then we can begin to change the ideology and the institutions that would perpetuate violence against trans folks. And that needs to be in conjunction with defunding the police, and in conjunction with the struggle for Black lives, the struggle for women of all kinds to have equity as well. So it's all connected, but it has to start with each individual examining critically how they've internalized things and unlearning them. Disclosure is a great way, and I think we go and have conversations with our friends and families so we can really move forward in a new way. And then then ultimately we have to change the material conditions of the people who are most at risk, right? Poor and working trans people of color, Black folks of color, working people of all races, right? Are screwed over in this country, are really disregarded in this country. So then once we change the hearts and minds and humanize everybody's still a human being no matter what. So even if we may be scared of someone, and fear is not necessarily danger, right? Just because I'm afraid of something doesn't mean that I'm in danger from something. Right. These are two different things. Fear, false evidence appearing real. So then how do we change the material conditions so that everyone really has a shot in America, right? Because that's ultimately what it's all about, everybody having a shot. And we are operating from a place of love. How do we love everybody, even when we disagree with them?